All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. It is not August 25th. And I keep forgetting to change that one. I don't know why. I keep forgetting. It's September 8th, 2023. Our agenda this morning, like we do every morning, we'll wait and see if anybody has any success stories to share. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window. And for those here in person, we'll allow you to give your 30-second introduction. We'll then hear about the interview success workshop, the practice interview team, and the career tip of the week. And then we'll have our main event towards the top of the hour. Please note that if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just open up the Zoom chat window. And that way we will be sure to get any questions you've got answered for you. For those watching on Facebook, if you have any questions, please just enter them into the comment field. We are looking and monitoring both feeds, and we'll be sure to get your questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, we give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group's been around since the late 1990s. I don't really know an exact date. I just know that when I got laid off in 2000, this group was here. So in January of 2000. So I know this group's been here since the 1990s. I took it over when the prior leader landed and got a job. In 2008, I saw there was a need, and I created a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched the second website, careerusa.org, as we were rebuilding the DFW site, and we just split all the generic information, put it on Career USA, kept all the stuff specific to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and kept that on Career DFW. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon for $15, or if you see me in person, I always have them for $10 a piece. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and we'll talk more about the PIC crew here in just a moment. Well, we'd like to start the meeting off with good news. Do we have any landings out there? Any landings? Any landings in here? We have Girl Scout cookies here. So if you were to be joining us today in person, you'll be feasting on Girl Scout cookies. All right, well, let's keep on moving here. What we'd love for everybody to do now is please, in the chat window, for those online, put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. And when we say 2 or 3 target companies, we're not looking for a position in, Fort Worth. We're looking for, give us a name of a company, because that's how we can maybe help you. I'll take all this information. I will put in a email that'll come out this afternoon. Look over it. Number one, connect with those people who are on the call. Great way to expand your connections, because you never know what second and third degree connections you can do. I also will use this to update the roster. So if you're using this for a Texas workforce or any of the workforce offices information, you can help you with that. So if you will do that, we'll put 30 seconds on the clock. All right, if you're still typing, please continue to type away. Just get your information in there. See how you can help somebody else. Help somebody every day on how you can, help them in their job search. All right, what we want to do is, for those people that are here in person, we want to allow them to give their 30-second introductions. So let me pop their thing up here. We'll do it later. If you will grab the microphone, turn it on, and give us your 30-second introduction. And it could be 35 seconds.
Hello, my name is Todd Billingsley. I'm looking for transportation or logistics manager. Need help with Dr. Pepper, Keurig, Boeing, or government locations. And that's what I'm looking for. Again, my name is Todd Billingsley.
All right. My name is Tyler Bauer. I want to be a product manager. I help translate technical requirements into business solutions, specifically within the digital marketing space. And I need contacts at 324 Creative Agency in Spearfish, Dallas. And my name is Tyler Bauer.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jama Ball. I'm a global business operations leader with experience cultivating operational excellence by building resilient teams and optimizing service delivery and product implementation. I enjoy establishing order out of chaos. I'm seeking an executive role with team leadership responsibilities, specifically around service delivery or product implementation based here in DFW. My name is Jama Ball. I need contacts at Access Consulting, Rippling, and Gainwell Technologies.
And you are?
Jama Ball.
Yes, you.
That was Jama Ball. I'm Jim Parker. Morning. Look for a position in technical sales and marketing. Got a strong technical background in a variety of technologies, but also extensive experience in sales and marketing. I'm a facilitator. I work well across departmental lines. I can speak to any business or technology level. Looking for a position with a small to medium-sized company that has more jobs than people, if you know what I mean, because I'm good at doing lots of different things. I'm Jim Parker.
Good morning, everybody. My name is William McLaughlin. I'm looking for a data analyst role. I help do the research necessary to help companies improve their bottom line. And I need contacts at Leidos and CoreLogic. Again, my name is William McLaughlin. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself? That's okay. I mean, just tell us what your name is and what you're looking for. We'll prompt you here. Just.
Stand here, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, tell us your name.
Okay. I'm Belva Lowry,
And what do you do?
and my background is business development and engineering.
Okay.
And I love growing companies and connecting people for incredible new processes and outcomes, innovation. And so I'm trying to figure out if business development or maybe customer success after the hunt, and maybe to help the loyalty of the client would be of interest for me.
Okay. Do you have any target companies?
No, my
Okay.
background is in architectural engineering and construction, but I am totally open to where people need to grow companies.
Okay. And tell us your name again.
Belva Lowry.
Great. Thank you very much.
Oh.
All right. First time brand new
Incredible.
person here with us today. So thank you for being with us. All right. Oh yeah, turn it off, if you will. There we go. All right. If you know somebody who's unemployed, recently unemployed, maybe unemployed for a long, long time, let them know about two totally free websites, Career DFW, careerusa.org. They don't collect any personal information. They are just there to help you in your job search. There's a lot of great information on both websites. One of the things you'll find on the Career DFW website is a bunch of calendars. And on there, the pink are job fairs, gold are special workshops that are happening. The blue events are those groups that are meeting in person. The purple events are those that are meeting via webinar, so you can join those anywhere in the country. If you know something that's maybe not on the calendar, please be sure to let me know so I can update it and share that information with everybody who uses the websites. All right, let me talk for a second about the practice interview team. The practice interview team is a great way to practice your interviewing skills. Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, they are not going to get you a job. What they will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So the Dallas Pit Crew was, it's actually a spinoff from this Friday group. About 10 years ago, 10 years ago, a couple people said, oh, I've got an interview coming up next week. Can somebody help me practice? And so there were 3 people who met on a Wednesday afternoon. And then the following week, there were like 4 or 5 people. And then within a couple of years, there were 10, 20, 30 people. And pre-COVID, we were pulling 50 to 70 people coming to watch 4 or 5 different interviews happening every week. So now that they've gone online because of COVID, you have two options now. You can schedule an interview online. Now, they're not taking any schedules until the 18th for another week and a half. Ron, who leads the group, is out of town. His wife just retired, and they thought, oh, time to go take a 2-week vacation. So they're off doing that. And when he comes back on the 18th, they'll start scheduling interviews again. All the interviews are totally free. Their motto is practice early, practice often. It will probably take you 3 to 4 times to get comfortable doing a practice interview. You will be interviewed by 2 or 3 hiring managers. Some of them are unemployed. They're looking for a job themselves, but they've all hired in the past. We hear sometimes that the interview at the practice interview team is harder than the actual real interview. But what you just need to do is send a resume and a job description, and you're scheduled 2 to 4 days out. And this would be after September 18th. And let them know you're looking for a practice interview. You can also go to dallaspitcrew.com. They also offer interviews in person. So on the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays each month at 1 o'clock right here at Christ United Methodist Church, they are meeting from 1 to 3 o'clock. And they will we had 2 interviews this past week, 2 different candidates. It was great. We had like 20 people were here with us. There's no online option on those days, but the 2nd, 4th, and 5th Wednesdays, we are meeting at 1 o'clock online. This coming Wednesday, we have an online online interview scheduled. So come join us this coming Wednesday, and you can watch a practice interview. And you will learn as much just watching an interview as you will actually being interviewed itself. So for more information, just go to dallaspitcrew.com. All right, it's time to hear about the career tip of the week. Every week there's a new career tip of the week. We've been doing this since 2009. So take about 45 tips times all those years, and you'll see that there's a lot of career tips out there you can go back and look at. Rosanna is going to read this week's tip. Now, I will sort of say that this week's tip isn't really for job seekers, but it's for anybody who's ever worked in their life. So if you've had a job, you probably have had, this may hit what you've done in the past. So Rosanna, thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. All right, so this week's career tip of the week is dated September the 3rd of 2023, and it's 10 strategies for responding to a micromanager. And this article is by Julie Winkle Giulioni. I love that last name. All right, so disheartening, demoralizing, soul-sucking. These are just a few ways that people describe the experience of working for a micromanager. We've likely all experienced a boss who's occasionally demonstrated excessive control, unnecessary involvement, a tendency to undermine decision-making, or Hawkeye-like monitoring. It's annoying, but when it's habitual and then completed by the constant absence of delegation, trust, autonomy, support, and appreciation, this creates an untenable, unsustainable, and unhealthy set of circumstances. If you find yourself in a situation, you're not alone. A February 2023 study by Account Temps discovered that as many as 59% of people have been managed by a micromanager at some point in their career. Of those who reported working for a micromanager, 68% said that it decreased their morale, and 55% claimed it had hurt their productivity. But micromanagement doesn't take a toll on morale and productivity alone. It also negatively impacts motivation, efficacy, confidence, creativity, and well-being, and frequently results in unwanted turnover. Managing your micromanager. While micromanagement can inspire feelings of powerlessness, there are several concrete ways individuals can take control, manage themselves, and perhaps facilitate behavior change on the part of their managers. Consider these 10 strategies for responding constructively to micromanagement. First, don't take it personally. When dealing with a micromanager, it's really not about you. Micromanagers are micromanagers rarely distinguish among the employees. Instead, they act as equal opportunity controllers, treating everyone in the same toxic and demotivating fashion. Second, be realistic. Micromanagement is a deeply embedded behavior pattern that will not disappear overnight, regardless of your effort, competence, or performance. You can help nudge your leader toward your productive behaviors, but don't expect miracles. Third, look in the mirror. Cast a critical eye on your performance and work product. Does it represent your best effort? Does it consistently meet or exceed expectations? And would you trust yourself based on what you're delivering? Fourth, stand in their shoes. Try to understand what might be motivating the micromanagement. It may be a result of a lack of trust, their own perfectionism, fear related to the stakes associated with mistakes, ego, or lack of confidence or skill. Understanding the cause can help you tailor your response in a way that will resonate. Fifth, share your experience. Express your commitment and desire to perform effectively, as well as the feelings and consequences that the micromanaging behaviors inspire. Example, I'm committed to producing the highest quality product. I feel discouraged when you make last-minute cosmetic adjustments, and I think it undermines the customer's confidence in what we're producing. Well-articulated consequences help put the behavior in a relevant and understandable context. Sixth, ask for what you need. Don't expect your micromanager to read your mind. Identify specifically what you need and make a clear request, along with the benefits associated with meeting the request. Fewer check-ins might allow you to reach your goal more quickly. Agree upon expectations will ensure that you will deliver that what you deliver meets your manager's vision. Greater autonomy or decision-making authority will allow you to respond more quickly to changes and be more helpful in the future. Adding what's in it for them creates a more compelling request that doesn't sound like complaining. 7, communicate proactively. Volunteer regular updates on the progress before being prompted. Keep your boss informed about milestones, significant developments, and challenges. Creating a cadence that preempts the micromanager's inquiries lets them know you're on it. 8, cultivate trust. Micromanagement frequently emanates from a lack of trust. Trust is a capacity, commitment, and understanding on the part of others. So take every opportunity to highlight these qualities in yourself and others. Make sure your manager knows you're on their side and that it's your goal to make them look good. 9, invite feedback. Routinely invite feedback on your performance. Respond curiously and non-defensively. Take action and report back on progress. Demonstrating a willingness to improve and grow can help alleviate their perceived need to micromanage. And then 10, take care of yourself. Since being on the receiving end of micromanagement takes a psychological toll, practice self-compassion and self-care. Identify strategies that allow you to remain calm, centered, and confident in spite of it all. Maybe it's repeating a mantra, taking breaks, spending time with friends, or communing with nature. And if it's a situation becomes unresolvable or untenable, the ultimate act of self-care might be taking your talents elsewhere. Even in the face of disheartening and disempowering micromanagement, there are always ways to reclaim your power and some control. By implementing even a few of these strategies, you can transform your own experience and potentially inspire positive change that will elevate your leaders' effectiveness as well. All right, everybody, that is this week's Career Tip of the Week. Again, it's dated September the 3rd of 2023, and it's 10 strategies for responding to your micromanager. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Rosanna, thank you very, very much. I mean, I'm sure everybody has dealt with a micromanager. If not, you will at some point in your career. So, hopefully this is, when I read this tip originally, when I saw this tip, it was like, well, I think we've all dealt with this. Let's put it out there for a career tip. We'll be back to more career advice next week again. All right. If you'd like to come join us for lunch today at 11:45, we're going to go to Country Burger. You cannot get this burger that you see pictured here, but they'll come close if you'd like. You do. If you want this one, you have to bring your own ham with you because they don't have ham, but you're welcome to come join us. It's 3115 West Parker Road in Plano. It's on the northwest corner of Parker and Independence. Burger, salad, chicken. Come join us. We'd really like to get to know you. We've got a couple of people who've come in who we'd like to give them opportunity to give their 30-second introduction. So can you grab the mic and hand over here and we'll let you do that?
Hello, I'm Kathy Meredith.
Yep, it's on.
Okay. I'm Kathy Meredith. I am a product owner. I am looking for a job in the aviation industry or aeronautics. My target companies are Caterpillar, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin. And again, my name's Kathy Meredith.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Archer. I'm a senior retail manager / merchandiser. I help company create sales and drive profit. Again, Anthony Archery.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us today. All right, it's time for our main event. Our speaker today is Paula Asinof. If you were with us a couple of weeks ago, Minna Brown is her they've written books, a couple of books together. Today, Paula's going to talk about headshots, how to make a great first and lasting impression. And this really sort of ties together with, if you're going to put together a one-page bio, you want a good headshot. If you're going to have a LinkedIn profile, which we all should have, you want to have a good headshot. You want to represent who you are and make it easier for people to reach out to you and see that. So Paula, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. So you can hear me, and you've got this up. We'll put the presentation up in a minute. I've made a slight segue, Jeff, since our conversation. Okay, I just lost something. Can you put your slide back up?
Okay, all right, just a second here. And I have that other slide.
We're going to come to that one in a minute. Can we start with this one up?
Yep.
Okay, so this is, I've done this presentation a number of times, and it seems to be very popular. And each time I do it, things in the marketplace change. I learned some things, and hopefully we'll be able to have a little bit of fun with this today. Because some of the stuff, you get to laugh at yourself a little bit, you get to laugh at me a little bit, and you get to see some things that hopefully once you've seen them, you won't ever be able to unsee them again. The first one, when I was talking to Jeff yesterday, and it came up in conversation, the headshot that you see on the screen right now is my current one that is, for example, on my website. Okay, and I took a look at it and I said, Jeff, this headshot, first of all, it is a almost perfect headshot in terms of all of the rules and guidelines. But there is one really important thing that's wrong with it. And what's wrong with it is I don't look like that anymore. If I walked into an interview, whether it's in person or on Zoom, if you look at the person in the little box where I'm giving the presentation, and you look at the picture that's on the screen, you'd have to do a double take to recognize that person. Now, what's happened with this is I did realize this about 3 or 4 months ago, as I was doing some changes up to my hairstyle and that kind of thing. This hairstyle, as I described it to Jeff yesterday, I described it as my heat wave haircut. And I hadn't entirely decided whether I was going to keep it or not. But now that it's at the end of the summer and I'm getting a lot of compliments on it, I've decided that this is, you know, the style for going forward for probably at least the next 12 to 18 months. And therefore I need a new headshot, and I have made an appointment to have those new headshots done early in October. So all of my pictures will come back into a line with Paula, the real person. And then, of course, I have to go through the process of taking everything that has this headshot, you know, everything from my website to my Outlook to my presentations to my bios to everything. And I'm going to have to go through and change them all up, which is, I think, one of the reasons why, excuse me, people like me, you know, that you kind of put it off as long as you can, because there's a lot of administration. It's beyond getting the headshot to bring everything into alignment and congruent and all of that. In fact, what we did yesterday with Jeff when I was talking to him is, Jeff, why don't we bring up that other, so Jeff was having a good time because I was mentioning that as we go through the presentation today, I have used several of my own headshots to make a point about a certain thing, and you'll see them as we go through the presentation. And I said, you know, you've got about 20 years of headshots in here. If you start on the lowest one, that's about 20 years ago. And then it evolved into the next iteration. And then it evolved into the next iteration. And then it evolved into who I am today. So if for those of you that are NCIS watchers, and you know that, you know, Gibbs has what, you know, rule number 72, rule number 28, he's got all these rules. So I guess rule number something is make sure that your headshot looks like you and that you're recognizable. You know, you still want it to be a professional headshot. The one that you see up there that says not a professional headshot, that's just one that I clipped yesterday and did a little bit of minor editing to it. There are still several things that's wrong with that. And actually what I thought I would do is, if you're taking notes, I'm going to go through, if you came to me as a client and said, oh, I've got a headshot, that'll work. And it's the one that was up there in, you know, the not professional photo. And then hopefully you'll begin to see this stuff as we go through the presentation. But the first good news is that it does look like me. If you look at me on Zoom and you look at me in that headshot, that's a recognizable person. Now, when I get the professional ones done, like the other ones, which were all professional headshots, it'll get cleaned up. And so I'm going to look a lot better. This was, you know, this is a segment that was basically cut out of a picture that was taken at a social event. And people, number one, try to do that. It's, you know, it's not a good, best first way to go after your professional headshot. You really want one taken ideally by a professional, but if that's not either in your budget or something that you're able to do, at least with the guidelines that we go through today, get somebody who has a real camera to take a picture for you, kind of following the guidelines, and I think you'll be fine. If you have the money and the time to do a professional one, I highly recommend it. And then you're going to want to obviously get it out on, especially on LinkedIn, just making sure that you have it. And again, we'll go through kind of this stuff. Okay, so if you take a look at this one, you know, the good news is it looks like me. Background, that is what we call a fade out background, and those are acceptable. The problem is that fade out background doesn't add anything to me. You know, if you faded out, say, my office, you know, or something else, then it's at least consistent with the message that you're trying to send. Second thing, ideally, this one actually comes off a little bit better than usual. That's taken in a position that we call a mugshot, you know, which means that everything is straightforward. Ideally, that picture should be taken with your head level and straightforward, but your shoulders slightly turned because it's a little more engaging. Next thing, it has not been retouched. So if you take a look at it, there is glare all over that picture. You have a few flyaway hairs, you have a couple of wrinkles. Now, the goal is not to make me look like I'm 25. I'm not 25. And frankly, for the job that I would want, I would not want somebody to be considering a 25-year-old. I bring years of experience. And while I want to look energetic and active and engaged, I don't want to look like, I'm a couple of years out of school, because hopefully that's not the job that I'm actually looking for. I talked about shoulders turning. Let's see. Okay, I think those are the probably the biggest things that you see on that. But it is kind of interesting. And Jeff, before you take this down, one other thing that's interesting in looking at these pictures is a little bit the evolution of professional attire for women. I don't think you can see the whole one, but if you go to the earliest one, that is a very formal business suit. And the next generation up goes to a professional dress. The one after that goes to something that, while very professional, is a little more high fashion and relaxed. And the last one, I suppose we could say, takes us to the Zoom era. But you see a lot of, the transition even in professional attire for women as it spanned the last 20 years. So there's all kinds of fun and interesting things that come up for conversation once you start looking at, some of these things over a span of time. Okay, Jeff, now we get to the fun part. We're going to bring up the presentation, and if I get the technology right, we'll be great. So if you want to take that one down. Okay, and I even practiced this, so I assume it will be okay. Okay, Jeff, did we get where we want to be?
Yes, we have. Congratulations. You didn't need any help.
I don't know, a little technologically challenged. Okay, so you can see that the headshot starts 2 generations ago. Just a little bit about me. I have my own company right now. It's called Yellow Brick Path. Right at the end, we'll bring up my website for a second. And this presentation, along with the presenter's notes, are available on my website, and you can go there and review all of that. Also, there are some checklists and worksheets, and those are also in PDFs up on the website, and I'll show you where to find those if you want to go back to them. I think that's the basics of that. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I have an MBA from Wharton. I came up through my career in finance, accounting, and IT for the first half of my career. And then I joined an executive search firm for about 10 years and did recruiting of senior executives, primarily information technology type senior people like CIOs and CTOs and that sort of thing. And I also worked in the financial services space. And so my real sweet spot was the CIO of a financial services organization at the time that I was doing search. I then segued actually the last couple of years of that to a boutique firm that was doing, it was really narrow. It was companies that were venture capital backed, that were filling out the C-suite of technology companies. So very narrow. And that firm went under in the tech bust of 2000. They didn't have deep enough pockets. And at that point, I had to figure out what I was going to do after that. And after several kind of twists and turns of figuring that out, ended up with my own company where I work predominantly with senior executives and board director candidates on their career documents. And I also have an executive coaching background. And so that gets built into how we do these documents. It's not just resume writing. So that's life at Yellow Brick Path these days. I've got a couple of books out. I know that Jeff talks about one of them, Be Sharp, Tell Me About Yourself and Great Introductions and Professional Bios. And then I have a second one that's called Be Smart, Sail Past the Hazards of Conventional Career Advice. And that might be a great one for some of you folks. It really takes you through the entire career/job search cycle, and 50 short essays, covers everything that I normally talk to people about, everywhere from strategy to resumes, cover letters, networking, interviewing, negotiating, exiting, money, all of that sort of stuff. And they're short and they're fun and you can skip around. And both of the books are available on Amazon. The good news for you guys is that Amazon, in its own inimitable wisdom, keeps lowering the prices. They keep getting lower and lower and lower. The book is available in paperback. It's also available in Kindle format if it turns out it's something that's interesting. And when we touch on my website at the end, I'll show you just literally how you can click through that to Amazon if you want to take a look at it or possibly order it. Okay. Now we get to some fun stuff. All right. Your headshot mirrors your brand. Now, the professional headshot has increased dramatically in importance. And it needs to mirror whatever your personal brand is and give you some competitive advantage in pitching yourself. This is fun. This is somebody that I worked with a number of years ago. He's a software expert. He's got an MBA from a world-class school. And this picture was posted on his bio for a slate of candidates that was being considered for a very prestigious award, the kind where you have to get all your friends to vote on it, and the ones that get the most votes get the award. One of our colleagues, and he shared this with me, actually wrote him a note after seeing the request for the vote that said, I was glad to vote for you. However, I'm sure that you lost lots of votes because of this picture. You look drunk, Neanderthal jawed, and addle-brained. The flowered Hawaiian short might have passed if you had looked intelligent in it or were just on vacation. But the picture was a bad choice because you're up against PhDs. Now, I guarantee you that not everybody is going to be as forthright in their opinions. This person who said that is a little bit of a brain to mouth person without a lot of filters on it, but we got the truth. But I think you can be sure that even if, somebody doesn't tell you that or didn't tell him that, she wasn't the only one that was thinking that. Now, this is a little bit old hat at this point. You probably all know this, but it bears repeating. What does your picture say? And this is a cartoon. According to your LinkedIn profile, you're a focused, disciplined achiever. According to your Facebook photos, you love Jack Daniels and are pretty comfortable in your body. So again, you want to make sure that you're careful on places outside of LinkedIn in terms of how you present yourself and how people see you, because people, and I think you guys all know this at this point, go and look. So tell me about yourself. What does your picture communicate? And frankly, there's a kind of fun way to explore this. You can go and just access your LinkedIn profile and look at your headshot. Hopefully, out of this group, everybody has one there. Of course, there are all the people that have never bothered to put one in. And actually, it turns out that the play that a LinkedIn profile gets without a headshot is geometrically lower, maybe even exponentially lower than one that has a headshot. Regardless, let's assume you have one. And what you want to do is pretend that you don't know yourself. So you don't know what job you have, you don't know where you work, any of that, just look at the picture and say to yourself, what kind of work does this person do? What level are they at in the organization? And is this picture the first impression that I want people to have? By the way, it's also very fun to go and look at some for your friends and colleagues and other random people and ask those questions and see what kind of insights you might get about, how people see headshots. Here's the bottom line. People make decisions based on how you look. You don't want them to, you don't think it's fair, it's illegal. But the reality of it is, if we're honest, people make decisions based on how you look. It's one of the reasons why, for example, the major symphony orchestras now, when you audition blind behind a black curtain so that they cannot see you. And the only thing that they can hear is the music. Okay. A great headshot is going to capture your energy and professionalism and engage the audience. So this is about a 95% perfect headshot. There's one little thing I might have changed about it, and we'll get to that later, but that is a very good headshot. That headshot was done of a relatively new grad. I think he might have been a year out of school or something like that when that one was done. Your photo represents your personal brand. So you also, especially in this day and age, you want to allow your headshot to reflect your personality and style. And it's something that you should feel proud to showcase. This, again, is about a 95% perfect headshot, but I happen to love it because of the energy that it brings and because it's fashion forward in a way that fashion forward works. Okay, so then the question becomes, do you need a new headshot? And there is a checklist when you go to my website that you can look at for this, but let me go through quickly kind of what's on that checklist, where you can decide if in fact you need a new headshot. So here are the questions. 1, is your image sharp and your face well lit? 2, is the background free of clutter? Is it a head and shoulders shot taken solely of you? Do the colors of your attire complement each other? Your skin and your hair? Are your clothes and jewelry nicely pressed and well positioned? Does your headshot accurately reflect what you look like today? That's where we started. Is it older than 5 years old? Have you changed your hair color or style? Have you stopped or started wearing glasses? Have you gained or lost weight? Are you in the same industry? Or are you working in a more formal or a less formal environment? Are you proud of your image? And would you do business with the person that's in that picture? And if even 1 or 2 of these apply to you, that's probably a red flag that you ought to be thinking about getting a new headshot. So with this, one of the things that I found is, or at least that I believe, is that in today's higher technology recruiting environment, that really your headshot, for example, on LinkedIn, is almost your first interview. And the right headshot communicates that you should be taken seriously as a business person. And again, you're just looking to put your best face forward. That's what we're doing here. Okay. Generally speaking, a professional photographer is a worthwhile investment. And again, here are some guidelines on if you're going to use a professional photographer. And again, if you've got, there is not a requirement that you pay somebody some money. If you have an uncle who's a professional photographer, or a friend who's an art student that does photography, who can follow the guidelines, certainly you probably can get a very good result that way. If not, you probably want to look into getting a professional one done. So here are some guidelines. They should be familiar with photographing business executives. This is not the photographer that does your family's holiday cards or your wedding pictures. They should be open to the guidelines that you want adhered to. And it's best if they have a studio to do it in. So for example, if you say, oh, I'd really like to have some kind of, my office background or something like that, they can take something on site, but they can also take a basic headshot and drop it into a background. So you have that option. And if you do it in the studio, then you have some of that option. Rosina, I hope it's all right to use you because I've got you up on my screen. And that is a very, very good headshot. It meets, the guidelines. That was taken on a white background, which means that it probably was created for purposes of being able to extract it and put it on a different background if you wanted to. But it's a very nice headshot. So that's just one right off the bat that you can look at where they've done a good job. And then you can take, if you want to, you can take all of these questions and say, do you agree that you like that headshot? Okay, a few more things. They should be able to take multiple shots and give you a choice, preferably with some kind of online gallery from which you can choose. They should deliver a retouched image in JPEG format, 1 to 2 megs. And you want to make sure that they provide you with a right to use license. In an ideal situation, you want to get a 5x7 picture. Also 1 cropped square for LinkedIn and for your business card if you're going to put it there. And they should also give you what's called a flip off of that square. Literally, it takes 1 second to do it. They shouldn't be charging you any extra. But you're going to want your headshot facing into the document. So for example, think about LinkedIn. You're always going to want one that's facing in the direction like Rosina's is. Envision that one facing in the exact opposite direction and imagine it in the LinkedIn circle. At that point, it is now facing out into La La Land someplace, and you're not integrated into the profile. And that's what you need the flip for. On some documents, you can move the headshot around like the bio, but in some it's fixed and you don't have a choice. And so you want to have a flip version for ones that lock you into being in a certain place. Ideally, also, your photographer ought to have a retake guarantee at least 1 time. And then finally, of course, it should fit into your budget. Okay, moving on. Keys to a great headshot. What to do, what to avoid. So first of all, the headshot that's on here is about 98% perfect. And it talks to a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. Head straight forward, up and down, shoulders turned, some color to give it some energy, a nice smile. This is a really, really nice headshot. So here are a few other guidelines. First, the headshot head to body ratio should be about 50% or 60% head. The part of your attire that falls below that does not add any value. And the smaller your head gets, the less I'm going to be engaged with you. Again, I just said straight up and down, facing forward. We're going to see an example of this in a minute. Tilt is very popular with some photographers these days, and you really want to avoid that. When you tilt your head, it makes you appear subordinate. So for example, if you look at me on the screen, can everybody see me, Jeff, or not?
He can see you in the,
okay, just little is fine. Okay, so if I turn my shoulders a little bit and come back, now I'm straight up and down. As soon as I tilt my head, look how I lose my power. Here, there. And if you do a chicken neck with a tilt, now you've got a Match.com photo. Come and see my etchings. You want to be somebody, and it doesn't make any difference what job you actually have, even if you're in a support role, you still, in your own right, I believe, should bring power to the table. Competence, proficiency, power to the table. So, I guess the last thing on this particular one is that both formal and informal headshots, are appropriate. It depends on your industry, it depends on the purpose and all of that. The easiest way to decide how formal you want this in terms of attire is to ask yourself, how would I show up in an interview? Remember, you're looking for a job, so how would I show up in an interview? And even if it's a very formal, informal environment, jeans and polo shirts, that might not be what you choose to wear to an interview. So for men, it's kind of easy to say there's kind of two primary headshots. One is going to be fairly formal. It might be a suit, it might be a dress with a jacket, it might be even a dress without a jacket, but it's going to be, fairly formal, fairly well dressed. For men, that's suit and tie. Men informal is pretty much jacket, open collar, and women just have to make the adjustment. What is the parallel attire to jacket, open collar? Now, depending on where you're interviewing, I'll give you an example. I have some clients from the West Coast and they work in Silicon Valley. And if they showed up anywhere in a suit and tie, they'd be laughed out of the room. On the other hand, if you showed up for a financial position on Wall Street, the odds are that that is a suit and tie environment, at least for an interview. So you really have to think about what's my audience, what's my personal brand, how do I put it out there, and how do I get this to portray that? Most of the execs that I work with, we actually do two final poses, one suit, men, one suit and tie, jacket, open collar, women, the equivalents, so that they can be swapped out depending on, as your job search evolves, what you find that you need. And again, for women especially, we've gotten more and more and more fashion forward over the years. So you just, again, have to take a measure of your audience. But regardless, having some color really adds to the energy of the picture. Okay. There are a few other poses that photographers like. I don't see these much anymore, but you might. One of them is the hand under the chin. Terrible for business. That's the one. Well, not for you. I need a woman, but that's the one that shows off your engagement ring. And that's what it's generally taken for. Another one is the extreme lean in. The photographers, some of them like that. It doesn't do much. Now, we're going to be only on headshots, so this doesn't matter unless you're looking at the 5x7. But hands in your pockets, especially for men, doesn't do much for you. That's going to get cropped out of the square. So, it's not a terminal offense, but doesn't really do anything for you. Now, with women, I see all the time, arms folded. Doesn't do anything for you. It's a closed position. Now, again, it's probably going to get cropped out. And then the other one is people sitting at a desk with their arms crossed on the desk. Probably doesn't do a lot for you, but again, for your pure headshot, that's going to get cropped out. So you probably don't actually have to worry about it. Okay. Moving right along. Okay, again, basically all the things that we were saying before, it's your personal brand, LinkedIn is your business place, but a few things to ignore, and then we're going to get to let's have a laugh page in about a minute. Some things that you don't want that could really undermine your personal brand is don't have selfies or vacation photos or event photos. Skip the photos with other people or pets. Don't use photos from your backyard or living room. Steer clear of photos in inappropriate attire. Don't use icons, caricatures, or logos, and avoid using low resolution headshots. Okay, time for some fun. Okay, this is the page that I call the downright awful. And these are business professionals that I randomly selected off of LinkedIn. So you'll see probably of all the things I just told you, one of the things I like to do, and again, here's this one here, fourth one over on the top, is like a complete mugshot. Maybe I'd hire that guy as a bouncer for my bar. But again, you don't know what he does. For all you know, he could be the CFO of a company. The one on the right over here is one that's fun because I often ask my clients, okay, so you know anything about this person? What do you think she does for a living? And I get all kinds of really interesting answers. My take on that is she looks to me like one of my clients last week said she looked like an Uber driver. Okay, my take on this one, in terms of a professional job, is she looks like an agricultural inspector to me. That's the one I came up with. But there are other things that people can, come up with. But definitely not probably the job that many of you are looking for. And again, here's the guy who's on vacation. Now, if I hire him, is he ever coming to work? The next one, actually, I remember she was actually a resume writer. And that is a magnificent photograph for a model. But professionally, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so here's somebody with an icon. Then this woman down on the left, if you said, okay, so what does she do? That photo is really good if she's a yoga instructor. Or even if she maybe even owns a fitness club. Turns out that she's a pharmaceutical rep. I don't think that does it. People whose photo is their company logo. Here's one that's probably about 500 years old. It's completely faded out. Now, the next one, outside of being very personal, so which person is it that we're supposed to be paying attention to? And then the last one is grandkids. Again, unless, the only place where something like that could possibly be appropriate is if this person works in a foster care environment, maybe, or some place where you're working with young kids and there's some purpose to this. But this is just a family picture, and that really doesn't belong here. Okay, now we're going to take, that was the downright awful. Now let's take a look at the not so good. So here is an example of retouching before and after. And if you'll notice, what's gone is primarily there are a few other things that have been cleaned up, but predominantly the glare. So that is a professional photograph, unretouched. And then on the right is retouched. And what you'll see is the glare is done and the 5 o'clock shadow has been reduced. That's why you want your picture retouched. Next one. Okay, here's the head tilt. Exact same person, exact same day. This woman happens to be the CEO of a small mid-sized company. And if you look at the one where her head is straight up and down, that is somebody who has a seat at the table, at least as I read it. Exact same picture with a head tilt. That is somebody who is in a support role. Just gave the only difference is the head was tilted and she just gave away all her power. Okay, next one. This is one of my favorites because the one on, at least my right as I'm looking at the screen, is a 100% fabulous headshot. That's about as good as it gets. Everything about it is right. Head is straight up and down, eyes are level, mouth is level, facing forward, shoulders turned. And we'll talk about backgrounds in a minute. This is on a gradient, what's called a gradient gray background, and it really pops his energy. The one on the left is the mugshot. And, you know, I think this is almost self-explanatory. The mugshot is just not engaging. Not so good, black and white. Same picture in color, black and white. You probably recognize this one from earlier. But look how much energy you lose in a black and white picture. Now, black and white may be extremely good for artistic purposes, but not for these purposes. Okay, and here we have some more examples of some good ones. This one in the upper left, the woman in the blue, outside of not being on a gradient gray background, that is like one of, I think, the best headshots I've ever seen. You know, all of the alignment, all of the energy, it's got the color, it's got everything is just right on the money. The next one that I really like is this guy in the middle, always been one of my favorites. Again, the only thing that is wrong with this picture is I would have liked his head just a little bit straighter. I mean, you know, turn just a little bit more so it's straight. But other than that, that is a magnificent headshot. Okay, we've already talked about this a little bit, but again, what you would wear to an interview, fashion forward's okay. And we've talked about most of the other stuff. This picture I have on here, which is kind of interesting, is you'll notice that it's basically a gray, black, white picture. And the lipstick is what makes this picture. It just pops just that little bit of color and gives her so much personality. Okay, backgrounds. There are two old ones that are really not in use anymore. And those, if any of you are old enough to remember, it's kind of a bright blue and kind of an ugly brown that back in the dinosaur era were the ones, you know, if you went to Sears to get your pictures taken, that's what you got. I have not seen one of those really in probably 10 or 15 years. What they went to from that was this solid gray. And that's fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the solid gray. However, the gradient gray, which is newer and which I prefer, if you take a look what happens with the gradient gray, and what the gradient gray is it is lighter right around your head, and then it grades out to a darker gray or grades into a lighter gray, however you prefer to think about it. And what it does is it really highlights you, which is why I prefer that. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with just the plain gray, you know, if you don't have the ability to do something like a gradient gray. Okay, the next thing that is very popular these days with the photographers and with everybody is what's called a fade out background. Okay, before they got to fade out backgrounds, and some of you may remember these, go back 10, 12 years ago maybe, was everybody was having their pictures taken against a brick wall. Okay, and they weren't faded out. The problem with not having a fade out background is that the background competes with you. And this is a picture about you, not about a brick wall. So the brick wall could presumably be faded out and improve it. But from the point of view of the value add to your headshot, it's about zero. Because again, this is a personal branding exercise. And so if you're going to fade out a background because you like the way that looks, and many people do, many photographers do, what you want is something that's congruent with the message that you're trying to send. Now, the one that's behind me there happens to be the skyline of Dallas, which is okay. It's not wonderful, but it's okay. Served my purpose at the time. You can fade out an office. You can fade out a building. You could possibly even fade out a company logo. There's all kinds of things. If you really like the brick wall, you probably fade out a brick wall, although I don't know how much it adds. But you want to make sure that if you fade out a background, that the background is relevant to your personal brand and that it does not compete or conflict with you. Now, coming up now are some examples of the formal versus informal. So that's just an example of formal versus informal. You know, again, who's your audience? Those are really nice pictures. Same thing, there's a woman, formal versus informal, same person, you know, one she took with her glasses, one she took with her glasses off. I will tell you that the one on the right, again, none of these are perfect. There are probably very few 100% perfect headshots. And if it isn't 100% perfect, you're striving for that 85 to 90% range, just because this is real life stuff. You know, the one on the right, I might have straightened up her. Can you see? It looks like her shoulders are turning in a little bit. I might have straightened up her shoulders just a little bit. Her head is perfect, but she's got her shoulders turned in a little bit. That I might have, you know, might have wanted something that didn't do that. Okay, this picture is in there. These are nice, again, formal, informal, all of that. And usually this is for discussion of facial hair. Probably less and less relevant today than it used to be. Again, if you go back 15 or 20 years, what we were telling people about facial hair, men in particular, was it's not appropriate for a business environment. You need a job, shave it off, get the job, grow it back. Once you have the job, they can't make you shave it. But if you want the job, take the no. What you're really doing is you're taking noise out of the communication channel. Okay, now today we've come a long way along that continuum. Facial hair still needs to be well groomed and professionally attractive, but it's not the same issue that it was 20 years ago. Okay, this is just another example of, you know, the formal versus informal. Business cards. For those of you that have created your own business card because you're between jobs or something like that, and you don't have a company business card, and I know business cards aren't quite used as much as they used to be, but still, if you were going to an in-person meeting, I still recommend that people take some business cards. You're standing around talking to somebody, take a business card. Now, the whole point of the business card, number one, is obviously to provide some information, but number two, is to be memorable. You want somebody to remember you. That's why you're giving them your card. And if you take a look at these two cards, one with a picture, one without a picture, you know, which one is more memorable? When I see you, you know, next week at a meeting, which one is going to help me remember you more? So if you are, you know, in a position where you are creating your own business card, now mine is for my company, I own my company, I can do whatever I want. But even if it is one of those sort of semi-personal, semi-professional business cards that you use for job search, I would still recommend that you consider at least putting your headshot on there. It doesn't make any difference. It can go on the right or the left or the upper corner or the lower corner, wherever you want it. You know, on this one, for example, it could have gone right in the left-hand corner, or I could have moved some of this information down lower on the card or changed the design around and put the picture someplace else. But again, for memorability, and if you have the option to create your own business card, I would highly recommend it. Jeff, I don't know where you're sending people for business cards these days. I still kind of like, oh God, now I just drew a blank.
Vistaprint.
Vistaprint, thank you. There's only one game in town on this. It's cheap, it's easy, and it's easy to load up your picture, and they come quickly. I'm still pretty much, I haven't found anything in the business card arena that I like better than Vistaprint on a whole bunch of considerations. Okay, now this one's interesting for two purposes. First of all, this is a person who has, I'm going to call it a less formal job. Her job is that she is the manager of an infectious disease laboratory for a healthcare organization. She is never going to need a business suit for anything. And so this is, what I would call high-end informal. You're almost at that professional dress. And it's absolutely perfect for a job, and appropriate for the job that she has. The positioning of the head, the gradient gray, the color in the outfit, the smile, that this is 99, I mean, maybe 100% in terms of, kind of headshots that I see. Now, this is also somebody who, at the time that this picture was taken, was kind of a little bit younger and into a lot of what I'll call the internet games, which is, answer these 3 questions and have 52 people weigh in on what they think. Or, she does these, if this person was a dog, what kind of dog would they be? Okay, the one on the headshots that's on the internet that shows up, here's how they market it. Find out what people really think of your photos. To choose your best picks, get objective feedback in a respectful, moderated environment, target voters by gender and age, part people, part artificial intelligence, stop guessing, start testing. Okay, it's fun. If you want to have fun, feel free with that. However, at the end of the day, this is really more entertainment than serious business. By necessity, these, I'll call them games or tools, whatever you want, make a lot of semantic assumptions. What does intelligent really mean? What does competent really mean? And as I think most of the people in this group are professionals, so you also know that meaningful feedback on anything requires follow-up and discussion. Some feedback's helpful, some of it's useless, most needs more analysis. And of course, to keep in mind that feedback is not truth, it is only data for further consideration. Just because somebody says something doesn't make it so. So have a good time, play around with the game, but don't get hung up on whatever results come out from it. Go back to your professional community and talk to real people that, that do hiring, or look at your picture and know you professionally. Okay, now, to pretty much wrap up, the keys to a great headshot, if you don't remember anything else, captures the energy and professionalism of the subject and engages the audience. And you can test yours, just step back or have somebody and ask them. This is also a fantastic headshot. Now, one of the reasons that I particularly chose to put this in the presentation is because if you'll notice right here, we have some facial jewelry. And so the question again becomes on or off, in or out when you interview. Again, the pendulum has moved, or the continuum has moved. That sort of thing is becoming much more acceptable. But again, you have to determine whether that, and the same thing with tabs, is this putting noise into the communication channel at the point in time when you're being interviewed and hired? And if it does, you want to do something to reduce the noise, because your end goal is to get a job. It's not a judgment on the item. It's just who's your audience and how much noise do you potentially want to deal with? How much implicit biases do you want to deal with? Get the job, do whatever you want. Now, evaluating your headshot. So there's also a worksheet out there on my website, which we will take you to in a couple of seconds. But there are some actual guidelines for looking at it. Number 1, does it reflect my professional best? And specifically, why? Is it appropriate for my audience? And by the way, who is that audience? Is it congruent with my personal brand? How? Do I feel good about myself when I look at this picture? Specifically, how do I feel? Is it engaging? In what ways? Do I come across as authentic and comfortable? And how do I know? And by the way, you might reword those questions slightly, give them to some of your friends and with the picture and let them give you that feedback. So again, there are some takeaways. I'll tell you where that is. You can review the thing that's just pretty much a summary of what we've talked about. I think at this point, you probably know everything that you need to know.
Paula, a couple questions before you show us your website. Akeisha, it popped up, you briefly mentioned chicken neck. Can you talk more about that for just a second?
Yeah, okay. This sometimes helps a photographer, but if it is overused, it looks silly. Okay, so here's a chicken neck. If you look at me.
So you're
Chicken, when they're pecking, their neck goes out. And so sometimes a photographer will position somebody, they'll say chicken neck, and you go a little bit forward. And a really good photographer, sometimes just a little bit of that will give them a better headshot. But if they're not really good, it can easily become overused and look kind of silly.
okay. Second question, Lily says she's attending a virtual but semi-formal professional meeting with international participants. One of the things that they sent was an email that said, gentle reminder that to be part of this community, you need to have a picture of yourself, cartoon acceptable, and your real name displayed, blah, 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 blah. What kind of cartoon would you suggest is appropriate?
Okay, first of all, depending on this audience, the question is, why would you use a cartoon? Okay, they're fun, but are you trying to make an impression on this group? Are you trying to network with this group? Are you trying to create some personal branding or professional presence? I'll come back to the cartoon in a minute. You might want to head towards a picture rather than a cartoon. Okay. On the other hand, the best cartoons that I've seen for these purposes are the ones that you can, and you're going to have to help me out on the technology a little bit, but it's like make your own little emoji cartoon. Is there a good terminology for this? It shows up at the bottom of the emails of a lot of my friends sometimes.
They call it an avatar.
Avatar. Is that what we're talking about? It's just a head basically, and it looks like you. I actually haven't gotten around to doing one of those. I probably should. But I think that those are the ones that I've seen that to me come across most professionally. In fact, for a number of purposes, I actually like them. I don't know if that's your branding. For example, if you look at right here on this meeting and what comes up when you're not fully video on Zoom, you can either go with your headshot, or you could go with, when they say cartoon, maybe it's the avatar head. I wish I had one that I could bring up really fast here. Minna, the one I was looking for is Minna has one that's really nice.
Yeah.
That she uses. And I don't know if, I think it might be on some of her emails. Do you remember seeing that at all? It's a very nice one.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, she's got a terrific one. But it's your head, and it just, the computer makes it up for you. So that would be, when they talk about cartoon, it's not the ones that they use in the explainer videos. I don't think that's what you're looking for. But I think that if the avatar is the right terminology for it, if it's the avatar headshot, then that's the one that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well-
some, the people in the audience recognize what we're talking about.
Yes, yes. You had a question?
That's much a question.
Yeah, Dawn. Okay.
That's much a question. I wanted to point out the difference between a cartoon and an avatar, but we've already discussed that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think it's the, again, if avatar is the right thing, right name for what we're talking about, then that would be, it's comparable to a headshot. It looks like you, but it's not actually a photograph.
Right. I mean, and the problem I would have by using a cartoon is that if I see you and I'm on a conference and I want to connect with you and I look you up on LinkedIn, well, is that really you? I don't know if I'm looking at the right person depending on your name and stuff. So I think it would be, to me, I would always want to use my picture whenever possible, use your good picture. Let's see, another question came in. What tool or website would allow me to add a gradient gray background to my current photo?
Okay, I don't have those tools personally. I am guessing that you're in probably Photoshop space. There may be some other tools out there. I have my photographer do that stuff.
I think
I would think that any graphic designer that you've worked with would be able to help you with that. But
Yeah.
I think it's probably Photoshop, and I think that probably, unless you are a graphic designer, you probably don't have Photoshop. But the basic ones that just come with like my computer, I don't believe they let you, do that kind of stuff.
I would check out canva.com. I think that Canva will go in
Oh,
the background. If you had a picture, it'll strip so it's just you, and then you can put yourself on different backgrounds. So that's
yeah, I haven't tried to do it on Canva, but I think that's probably, Canva is more user-friendly and more consumer-friendly than Photoshop. Photoshop is really a professional system.
right. All right. Do you want me to call up? You want me to pop up your website, or are you going to pop it up?
You can pop it up. Why not?
In here?
Did we get all the questions handled?
Questions? Anybody else have any questions? Questions? Who knew there was so much detail to know about to make your photo look good? I mean, would you ever really think about that? But that's what you really want to do. All right.
By the way, thank you all for these questions. Particularly the one, where you were coming up on the, on the cartoon / avatar or whatever. That will be in the next iteration of this presentation.
Yeah, question, yes. Recommendation on photographers or locations on where to go to get a professional shot. I know you've got a favorite
I
person.
have a favorite photographer, and are most of the people that are on here local today?
Probably more than 50%. I know there's some people from out of town that are with us.
Okay, I have right now if you're local or have occasion to be in Dallas, Leanne, Leeann Baker at labphotography.com. And if you'll bear with me for a second.
Paula, I tell you what, if you will send me the two people you recommend, I'll put it out in the email this afternoon that I put out to everybody.
Okay, that'll be great. Anyway, it's Leanne Baker, Lab Photography. She's in Plano. Her studio is on Independence. So it's right up in this group's neighborhood there. You can call her and talk to her. She has two packages. One is a single final pose, one is two final poses or custom stuff. But I'll send you both her email and her phone number and her website. And I've been working with her with my clients for, 10, 12 years now. She does fabulous work. She does the headshots. She also does small business, like go to your dentist's office and have a group photograph of all the staff. She also does that kind of stuff as well.
Right.
The other one is in New York. And I will, again, do you think you have any people from New York on this call?
I know we've got somebody from New Jersey, a couple people from New Jersey, I think, so.
Okay, well, this is New York. I have found a company in New York City. I've only had 1 or 2 people that have used them. I talked with them personally. When I look at the samples on their website, a goodly percentage of them fall within the range of my guidelines, and their prices are reasonable. They're in Manhattan, so I'll send you that one as well. They're not as carefully vetted, nor have I used them as often as Leanne. And Leanne is good enough that I say, do you have a cousin here? Do you have a client here that you can come visit and schedule with Leanne? You know, so that you don't have to pay to get here. Just figure out a way to have it on somebody else's nickel.
Right.
Okay, so I need to send that. Okay, so my website's up. We've just got a minute or 2 left. This is the homepage of my website. Do I have, you have all control over this? Okay, if you'll click on articles, go down to the 4th one. There's the headshots. The first one is the PowerPoint that we've just been talking from, along with the presenter's notes. And every time you see one of those big yellow check marks on the presentation, that is directing you to a checklist or a worksheet. And there are your checklists and worksheets. Okay, now can you go over to the side and scroll down to the books, Jeff? Okay, the second one, the blue book, is Be Sharp. That's the one with the short essays in it. If you want to see a couple samples, the first 3 articles under articles are actually chapters from that book. If you click on the book or on order now, it's not going to buy, you're not going to buy anything. All it's going to do is redirect you to Amazon. Okay, the same thing on the one above it, Be Sharp, which is on talking about yourself and bios. I know Jeff talks about it a lot. Minute, I think, comes and does some presentations on that at other times during the years, my co-author. Same thing. If you want it, just click on either the book or I think order now. It will redirect you to Amazon. You can decide if you want to buy it or not. They're not expensive.
Get the Be Sharp book. Be sure it's the 2nd edition. I think that's all that's available on Amazon now. In fact, I think when we looked yesterday, it was like $13, $14.
That was for Be Smart. I think, yeah, they're like I said, I think both of them are under $15 for the paperback, and they're under $10 for the Kindle version. So that's and the other thing is there's a lot of information on my website. Once you get in there, if you want to noodle around on that through other articles, I do work with board candidates, so some of this information relates to board candidates. You might find, for example, the second, I know you've got recruiters come in all the time, that there's a whole group of these you can, when to use a bio, when to use a resume, that's from the book. The next group down are all from my board candidate people. What's wrong with the resumes of recent college graduates? That is a chapter from Be Smart. Okay, so again, there's some stuff out here. You can noodle around on that. Just click on one more over the worth knowing section to click on all postings. I think you're in. Okay, you can just, this is just archival stuff. It's not like a blog, but you can go through and a lot of this is, no, I think you're in board here, not under all postings. Okay, I guess that's it. Click on, instead of all posting, click on, just start with, do advanced topics, and let's see what comes up. Okay, that's kind of old, but you'll find that they're just, these are just little, like closing the interview. Just click on continue reading. Okay, and you'll see these are just little short, kind of less than 1 page, you know, little tips and stuff like that. So, you know, if you feel like you want to, you can just scroll around on the website, and you know, if it interests you, it's all out there. It's all free.
A lot of great information on the website. So Paula, thank you very, very much.
Okay, I just need to be clear. I need to send you the photographers.
Yes.
And you're also going to publish my website info.
Website again to get to it.
Okay, and I'm going to go look for Minna's avatar and see if I can find it to send to you.
Okay.
Okay, Listen, hopefully you guys all enjoyed this and got something out of it. I haven't been in the chat, so, oh, good. It looks like some people liked it. Cool. I like it when people like stuff.
Did like a great presentation. So thank you. I mean, whoever thought there was this much into a photo. And the one thing that I know a lot of people, a couple of people commented when you mentioned about looking into your LinkedIn profile. I go to a national convention a couple times a year. I'm a speaker there, and they take all these photos, and the photo they send everybody is facing the wrong way. And I remember at lunchtime, I talked with the photographers, say, think about what you're doing. You're taking a photo for LinkedIn, but all your photos have them facing away from their profile. And they went, oh, we didn't think about that.
Yeah,
And-
nobody thinks about it. Okay, just so for you guys, if you already have your photo, if you open up your photo, go click the button for editing and cropping, and down at the bottom, they keep changing this up, but I think it's just a little thing that looks like it's a back and forth at the bottom now. And that is just the button, flip, done.
Right.
Now you have a flip, and save it with the, a name, headshot flip. It literally is that simple. You can do it in a millisecond yourself.
Right. So great job. All right. So Paula, thank you very, very much. Great information today. All right. If you've not put your 30-second introductions into the Zoom chat window, so we know you're with us, please do so we can make sure we'll get you the email that comes out to you this afternoon. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Next Tuesday, Kurt Vondermatter will be with us to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. Kurt spends the big bucks with LinkedIn to get the full-blown recruiting package. He'll show us how it works and how he tries to find you. And quite frankly, it's pretty eye-opening when you see how many people don't have their contact information in there. These people say they're open to work, but they don't want to say how to be contacted. So it's just, it's a great, come join us next week. You'll really enjoy Kurt's presentation. Next Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting online only. We'll be on Zoom only. You'll be able to watch an actual practice interview. It will be recorded only for the candidate. So if you want to watch it, you will need to watch it live next Wednesday, 1 o'clock Central. And then next Thursday, we have, being the second Thursday of the month, we'll talk all about networking. For every session, we have a different speaker to share their thoughts on networking. Networking is basically, this is how you're going to find your next job. 75% of jobs are found through networking. So what are you doing? And every speaker has just a little bit different method on what they talk about. So come join us for that next Thursday. This session has been recorded. You will be able to see it on the Career DFW Facebook page or the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. I have over 540 videos currently up there. Go down and pick the topic. If you want to see this one, North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group Speakers, click on that little circle or where it says view full playlist, and up will come a list of all the different titles and dates in chronological order. You just scroll down to find the topic that you want. Just remember that all of the North Dallas speakers start anywhere 25 to 30 minutes in, because I do start recording at the very beginning of our presentation. Come join us today for lunch. You got to have lunch. Come to Whataburger, or not Whataburger, Country Burger. I've not been to Whataburger now in like 2 months now, so I don't know if I'm having withdrawals or whatever, but Country Burger is my favorite place. I love their hickory sauce. Northwest corner, Parker and Independence, burger, salads, chicken, and more. Just come join us today at 11:45. So everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the last day of record-breaking heat if you live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and next week we'll be back down in the 80s and 90s, and it'll be wonderful. We'll have to put on our long sleeves again. So everybody have a great weekend. Paula, once again, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jeff.